Keir Starmer recently experienced two humiliations, one at home and one across the Atlantic. Pressure grows over Labour's growingly divisive free speech position. Starmer took a risky move to stave off an impending economic blow, but instead of succeeding, he ran into a brick wall. Now that diplomatic tensions are rising and public outrage is mounting, the Prime Minister's decision is being closely examined. What precisely did Trump shut down, and why is Labour being accused of restricting fundamental freedoms? Before we begin, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel for more updates. It's not often that Donald Trump publicly dismisses a sitting British Prime Minister, but that's exactly what happened to Keir Starmer, and the timing couldn't be more embarrassing given that Starmer's Labour government is currently facing criticism for its divisive views on free speech. Downing Street attempted to frame it as a status report without making a formal request, but the Prime Minister's discreet attempt to persuade Trump to save the UK from impending export duties has failed miserably. According to several sources, Starmer basically begged Trump for extra time to negotiate a hasty trade agreement before the tariffs took effect. Trump responded in a kind manner, saying, "I'll look into it." But this isn't just a slight, it's a purposeful shutdown, and Labour couldn't have asked for a worse time. Let's examine what transpired and why there could be significant repercussions, starting with the tariffs. Trump's comprehensive Liberation Day tariff proposal, which will impose higher levies on exports from the UK and other countries, goes into effect tomorrow, April 2nd. To avoid the harm, the Star's administration has been frantically attempting to reach a limited tech-focused agreement with the US, and there were expectations that Trump would step in instead. According to reports from The Sun, Starmer's weekend outreach to Trump failed. The Prime Minister invited Trump to London in June, offering a platform for him to sign a new mini-deal in person, but Trump didn't bite. Insiders said that no formal exemption was even requested, but let's face it, you don't get on a Sunday evening call with Trump just to say hello. One source described the tone of the call as Starmer pleading, not exactly a display of confident diplomacy. Second, the free speech firestorm. At the same time, Starmer was subtly pleading for trade leniency, while his own government was receiving international criticism from Washington, no less, for its crackdown on free expression. The U.S. State Department said that growing worries over freedom of speech in the UK were the reason for their rare criticism. The 64-year-old retired scientist Livia Tichy-Bolt, who is presently facing charges for carrying a modest placard outside an abortion clinic that said, "Here to talk if you want." She has been accused under a municipal public spaces protection order for violating a buffer zone around the clinic. She has pleaded not guilty, and the trial is anticipated later this week. The optics here are awful. That's all, no yelling, no confrontation, just a placard inviting debate. Tichy-Bolt recently met with a U.S. diplomat from the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor, and Washington sent a scathing message. "We share a mutual respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms, but we are concerned about freedom of expression in the United Kingdom, which is essentially the U.S. government telling Britain to get its house in order or risk consequences." Then there is Labour's response rather than defending the principle of free expression. "No free trade without free speech, ouch," a statement from the State Department stated. Labour is expanding the business. Secretary Jonathan Reynolds attempted to minimize the damage this morning by telling Sky News that Britain is maintaining its composure and that a tariff reversal could still occur in weeks or months, but that is hardly comforting. He acknowledged that there is no set timeline and even hinted at the possibility of retaliatory tariffs if things continue to stall. Translation: since Labour's plan now hinges on hoping Trump will alter his mind, which is wishful thinking rather than policy, what are we left with? A Prime Minister torn between a human rights scandal and economic harm? Trump, who may eventually return to the White House, and a government that is weak on free speech and even weaker on trade, the pitch of the Star Lilia. Although Tichy-Bolt's trial may appear to be a minor local matter, it has grown to represent Britain's encroaching censorship on a global scale. It is currently a wedge in international diplomacy, and as Trump's Liberation Day tariffs take effect, the UK faces economic and ideological isolation. This is more than just a failed trade call, it is a wake-up call. According to industry leaders, pubs throughout the UK are facing a precipice as COVID-era takeaway alcohol regulations expire today. Emma McClarkin, CEO of the British Beer and Pub Association, expressed disappointment over the government's decision, saying, "We see this cliff edge coming in on April 1 with more than £650 million being added to the beer and pub sector. Starmer is learning the hard way that you can't buy prosperity abroad while cracking down on freedoms at home." Pubs wishing to continue selling takeaway drinks must now apply for special status. According to McClarkin, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has chosen to allow the temporary legislation to expire on. The well-liked change to drinking laws was implemented during the pandemic but will now expire without government intervention, which is a new blow to bars and breweries that are already having to contend with growing expenses. In order to help firms, the industry had hoped that the government would make the COVID-era rule permanent. In 2020, the license regulations were loosened to provide a lifeline to bars that were having trouble during COVID lockdowns. Although license holders had previously only been permitted to sell drinks on-site, this temporary solution allowed them to sell alcohol for delivery or takeaway to clients. During the pandemic, the takeaway pint really took off. McClarkin observed that many bars use this clause to modify their business plans and include new revenue sources. McClarkin asked the Prime Minister to change his mind about the matter. She stated that she questioned the reasoning for the government's choice to not make this easement permanent, saying, "We're really disappointed. Since there haven't been any significant issues with the selling of alcohol for takeaway, we hope they would take this very constructive step to lessen the administrative load on our companies." She urged Starmer to use common sense in his strategy. Diana Johnson, the Minister of Labour Policing, expressed displeasure on behalf of the government, saying, "We are disappointed that there was not a consensus in favour of retaining an easement from which many pubs and pub-goers have benefited. We therefore want to make it as simple as possible for those pubs who wish to continue making off sales to secure the licensing permission to do so from their local authorities," Johnson said, underscoring the government's commitment to bolstering the pub industry despite the ruling. The pub industry, which is already dealing with a £3.4 billion tax rate from Rachel Reeves' budget, is under increasing pressure as a result of the expiration of the takeaway alcohol regulations. Given how difficult times are becoming, we must see how this government will support our pubs and breweries moving forward. McClarkin cautioned, at a time when the industry is facing financial difficulties, pub owners must now deal with additional administrative obstacles. The industry continues to call for more support measures to ensure its survival. What do you think of the topics we covered in today's video? If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, and goodbye.